Okay, so let's jump into this week's workshop. This week, we will be talking all about no code and the no code space. And the workshop today is really just more about an introduction to the no code space in general, and really just to highlight the power of what has developed within the no code space and what that allows you to do as a budding entrepreneur, as a someone who wants to build something online or build out a digital product or digital business, and the tools and resources that are now available for you to do that without the need to be a software developer, without the need to be able to write any sort of code whatsoever. And I think the point that I really want to make is just the fact that there's so much opportunity with what you're able to do without needing to be able to code now, that there's so many different types of businesses that are being created within the no code space. So there's so much opportunity, and it means that it's never been easier to create something from no code tools that have now gotten to the point where you can develop complete mobile apps, complete web apps, and a really great UI UX experience for an end user with these no code tools. So let's jump in and take a quick look. So we're going to go through three main topics. Again, this will be a short session, and most of the people within our community are probably aware of the no code space and what no code involves. But for anyone who's not, then hopefully this will serve as a good introduction and really just showcase you the possibilities of what you can do with technology now and all the tools that are available. So first of all, we're going to look at what is no code and what it is made of. We'll then look at leveraging the power of no code and what you can actually do with it. And then we'll look at a whole host of no code tools and resources that you can use for different use cases and which tools are going to be most relevant for you and what you want to actually build. So we'll jump right into that right now. So what is no code? Like I mentioned already, no code is essentially a way of building apps or web apps or any type of digital product without the need to write any code. There's been a huge advancement in the area of quote unquote no code over the past few years. And what that has led to is essentially a whole host of different tools and programs that allow you to create your own web app, your own mobile app, your own website or e-commerce store with drag and drop capabilities and visual programming. So it removes completely the necessity for you to be able to write any sort of code whatsoever. And a couple of examples we have here, these are more kind of the older examples of like the likes of Wix and Squarespace. And obviously these particular businesses are, I'd say, over a decade old at this point, certainly Wix is, but these were kind of the initial phases of what were tools that were allowing you as a non-technical person to create a website without the need for being able to code. And over the past, I would say 3 or 4 years in particular, there's been a huge development in the number of tools that are now allowing anybody really to make more sophisticated web apps, applications, software programs without the need for being able to actually write any code. And essentially the way that I like to look at it is that no code has democratized the ability for almost anyone to build products, apps, and websites without the need to be able to write software. So it's completely come in and undercut the layer of developers and software engineers in that you don't need to be able to actually write the code. So does that mean that the whole area of software development is going to end? Absolutely not. There's obviously all of these no code tools and platforms are being built by developers who are writing code, but for people who are not at that technical layer or not willing to go the distance with learning how to actually write the code and programming languages themselves, these tools sit at the layer where you're able to come in and leverage them as a drag and drop resource to create something that is almost as good as something that you would have developed from software yourself. So obviously software engineers and software development is absolutely going nowhere, but what no code tools are providing is essentially a way of disrupting the entire landscape and democratizing the ability for the likes of you and me to be able to go and create these types of businesses, products and services at a layer that's not requiring us to go too deep into the code. So how can you leverage the power of no code? So the no code ecosystem has evolved to a stage where there's essentially a faster rate to market. From a product building standpoint, no code allows you to create something extremely fast, validate your idea, test it with customers, and see if there's actually appetite within a market for your particular business idea or product. And it allows you to do that at a speed that has really never been able to be done before, but it allows for you to create a minimum viable product in the space of a few days or a week or two, once you get the hang of some of these tools, and create a web app or a website or a product that is able to be validated within the space of a couple of weeks for a very, very minimal cost. And I think part of the democratization of the landscape is with regards to cost. And many of these tools are free to try out. There's a small monthly charge thereafter for the billing cycles of what they're actually allowing you to do. But it's essentially giving you such a cheap and easy way to create a minimum viable product, validate your business idea, and begin to go to market from there. So it removes the need for you to be needing to hire technical developers or software engineers. And as a non-technical person who has always wanted to build a business, you can come in and create something that is not requiring you to need that code and validate that within the market very easily. So let's get to the meat and bones of it. There's a whole host of no-code tools and resources that are essentially available to you at any given time. And the use case for each of these tools is going to depend on what you want to build. And there's a whole host of different types of businesses that you could build, but we've broken them down here into three main categories. And the first category is apps and web apps. The second category is e-commerce. And then the third category is community/personal brand or personal following. So looking at apps and web apps first, there's a series of tools here. Adalo, Bubble, Airtable, Softer, Webflow, and Glide. Some of these are more, so let's take Adalo and Bubble, for example, are more geared towards creating apps and web apps for mobile and desktop. Airtable is more of a database tool that's going to allow you to sync up with some of these other tools like Bubble and Adalo to actually store the information of people who are signing up to those apps that you want to create. Softer is another web app builder that is very seamless to use. Webflow is a website builder that leverages no code that is extremely sleek and minimal to use. And Glide is another web app builder that allows you to sync with Google Sheets as well as Airtable, I believe, and create very seamless apps and web apps. So if you have a business idea for creating any sort of mobile app or web application that you want people to use, these tools or a combination of them will allow you to basically build something in a very short space of time. I will say with the likes of Bubble and Adalo, there is a small learning curve as well as with Webflow, but within a couple of weeks, you can really get up to speed with them and create a minimum viable product very easily. From an e-commerce perspective, a typical e-commerce business, we can think of the likes of Shopify and creating a storefront for your product or service with something like Shopify. Shopify is obviously dominating the e-commerce space in general, but a couple of supplementary tools or standalone no-code tools that you can leverage would also be the likes of ConvertKit, Gumroad, Stripe, and Woocommerce. ConvertKit is going to be not specifically, but it's geared more towards creating email campaigns, but they've recently launched a completely standalone commerce component that allows you to sell products and services through it. Gumroad, once again, is probably one of the easiest ways to begin selling your products or services online, and having a payment gateway in place to capture payment for the product or service that you've built. Stripe is, again, a payment processing tool, which will integrate with pretty much any of the tools listed here, but it's giving you a payment gateway to be able to capture payments with whatever you build. And then Woocommerce is the e-commerce essentially bolt-on plugin for WordPress that is going to allow you to begin selling products and services via any type of WordPress website. So again, I think when people think of no code now, the modern no code, they'll probably relate to the tools that are under the apps and web apps heading here. And in the traditional sense, essentially no code is allowing you to create anything without needing to code. And I think these e-commerce tools definitely fit that criteria. But some of the more modern no-code tools will be referenced with the likes of these ones like Adalo, Bubble, Airtable, Software, Webflow, etc. On the right-hand column, we've got community / personal brand. And any of these tools are going to allow you to basically get integrated with kickstarting any sort of member site or following or creating a way for people to interact and integrate with whatever it is that you're creating. So MemberStack is essentially a bolt-on for any website that allows you to create a membership platform and capture payments for members. Substack is an email marketing, I say email marketing, but sorry, an email newsletter tool that basically allows anyone to begin creating an email newsletter, a personal email newsletter or a business email newsletter, and it can handle payments and subscribers all in one platform. Mighty Networks is a community tool that also allows you to leverage creating courses, and they can integrate courses within your Mighty Networks community itself. Circle is a standalone, well, I say standalone, but it's a third-party community tool that can bolt onto your existing website and facilitate community forums and anything else that you want to add on to your existing business. Discourse is similar. It's a forum tool that allows you to cultivate conversation and create forums around your business. And Launchpass is a way to basically begin capturing payments for your Slack group or your Slack channel that is a private membership kind of community via Slack. So again, these community tools and these e-commerce tools and these apps and web app tools, they can all be combined and basically moved around depending on the specifics of the type of business that you want to create. So while one of these might be predominant in what you want to build, like let's say Shopify, for example, for an e-commerce store, it could be very likely that you would want a community component to the Shopify store that you're creating, and you might bolt on Mighty Networks or Circle as a community component for your Shopify business. Also, on the flip side, you might want to create a web app with Adalo, for example, and you might want to have payments processing going through Stripe with that, and then you also might want a community for that, so you might want to set up a member stack as well. So there's a whole host of ways that you can combine these tools, and it's also going to depend on the specifics of the type of business that you want to create. We've obviously categorized them into these three main pillars here, but depending on your needs, you're going to be able to essentially decide on the ones that are going to be most relevant for you. And finally, we wrote an article recently about 75 tools for startups and the future of work. If you are interested in looking at a whole host more no-code tools, you can check out that article. We'll leave a link to it in the description of this video below. But once again, it's just worth reiterating that technology and no-code tools have completely democratized the ability for anyone to create a business, create a product, or create a service online without the need to code. And therein lies the power. And all these tools are readily available for you to basically begin leveraging, and most of them are for free. So at least to begin with. So there's nothing stopping you from really just kickstarting your idea, getting your minimum viable product built, begin getting feedback and iterating, and you can take it from there. But there's all of these tools are readily and available, and you can really combine so many of them to basically create anything that you could probably conceive to an extent, but there's so many options for you to basically begin creating whatever it is that you want to build. So take the leap, begin building, and check out the article with these 75 tools. I hope that was a helpful introduction. And again, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out.